So, Brie, what memories did you have of Kong before getting involved in this project? Was it the original movie? What was it for you?
We had the original movie poster in my house growing up, which is very spooky. And then I saw the Peter Jackson one in the theaters. That was the only one that I was alive to see in the theaters. But I think that in general, I mean, the Kong imagery is just everywhere. You know, you don't even have to have seen the movies to know who Kong is.
And were you excited to be a part of it?
Absolutely. It was a part of history, a part of film history, and part of a long line of really talented, dynamic, interesting women who have had interactions with Kong.
And speaking of dynamic, interesting women, how do you see Mason Weaver, your character?
Well, Mason Weaver is a self-proclaimed anti-war photographer. She has been on the ground taking photos of war for a while now, so she's extremely tough. She's bold. She's just as strong and just as outspoken as the rest of these men, but she never grabs a weapon throughout this entire film, and instead leads with vulnerability and her heart. She has a huge belief in humanity and wants to fight for that.
We see that how she collides quickly with Packard, Samuel L. Jackson's character, in that sense, right?
Yeah, in real life, we actually get along very well. But yes, in the film, we got to have the fun dynamic of being the opposites. You know, he's about dominating this creature, and I'm about working with it.
And then there's also an interesting relationship with Tom Hiddleston's character. How would you explain it without giving away too much?
Well, the two of them are on the same side. And so they very quickly recognize something in each other and become allies towards the beginning of the film. And that relationship kind of turns into this real care for one another, but it's not romantic. I think that's my favorite part about it, is these are two that through the course of this film are willing to risk their life for each other, but it's just because it's another human being and it's worth risking your life for.
Another new way of seeing it is the fact that even though you have a connection with Kong, it's not the damsel in distress thing. Your character is as strong as the rest, as you were mentioning before, right? And also the way she reacts to Kong and everything is different and new too and fresh.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of what was exciting. And another way that we've kind of like spun this genre on its head a little bit. I think that women are really dynamic, complicated people. They have a lot within them because we can be very strong, very forceful, but at the same time, we're very nurturing. So anytime I'm playing a character, I don't like to just play one note. You want to just see all of the different aspects of it. And I think because of this film, I got to really express Weaver in many different ways.
Speaking of expressing yourself as an actor, what was it like to act opposite something that's huge and not really there when you were acting?
Just really have to lean on your imagination. I mean, my job every day is just to suspend my disbelief. Every day I pretend that I have a different name and that I'm talking with people that I don't usually know on a day-to-day basis, but I'm pretending like I do in a new situation. And this film was just taking that and expanding on it. I got to be like a kid again and just run through the jungle and talk to an imaginary friend.
How physically demanding was it? Because you do run through the jungle quite a bit.
Incredibly physically demanding. I mean, I don't think that we ever stop moving once the movie starts. There's only one scene that I remember standing still. The rest of it, we're constantly climbing up something, climbing down something, jumping off of something, sliding under something. And for every one time you watch it in the movie, it means that we probably did it all day. So my body was just really, really worked. But it also meant that I got to eat a lot more chips than normal. So that was pretty cool.
And most of the shoot was in Vietnam. How was that experience?
Incredible, once in a lifetime. I felt so incredibly lucky to be able to go. I mean, we got to go to these just perfect, beautiful, untouched locations that I'm not sure I would have known to go to had I not been guided by this film. I really loved the people and the food, and I can't wait to go back.
And that made it all feel so real. In a way, this is a movie that also has powerful themes, our relationship with nature, how we should learn to work together. What was it about, apart from the spectacular, entertaining movie that it is, but it was also about other things, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that to me is like, that's the magical elements that make a film great. is you can sit there in the theater and just be so excited by the images, and there's things exploding and people running and high stakes. But then simultaneously you're being asked these real philosophical and moral questions of yourself, of what are you willing to risk your life for? What's important to you? Who's going to protect this environment when these plants cannot speak for themselves? And what happens when we use just brute force and control, when it's just about our ego and being at the top? Does it really get us anywhere, or does it set us back?
Jordan managed to put all of that in this movie. What is he like on set?
Well, I'd never done a film like this, and so the conversations I had with him were completely different from any conversation I've had with another director before. Because instead of just talking about what the scene is, you're actually talking about what's not there. You're talking about a creature that's looking at you, and you're saying, like, well, what do the eyes look like? Does it look like he's going to charge at me, or does it look like he's being kind to me? If he looks like he's not being nice, how long does that last for? And you are kind of creating something out of nothing together.
So then it must have been very special to see the final product. What was it like? What did you think?
I was really blown away. I mean, I'm still just like a movie geek, just like everybody else. So I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd get to be part of something that was such an event, so big, so epic, and on IMAX. Never thought I'd be in an IMAX movie in my life. I'm just a person.
You mentioned before acting opposite things that were not there, but you also act opposite some of the greatest actors in the world. Can you talk about working with people of the caliber of Samuel L. Jackson, of John Goodman, of Toby Kebbell, etc., Tom Hiddleston?
Well, I mean, it's just an honor. It's just an honor to be placed in the same film with them, to be acting partners with them. It can be really intimidating at first, and then very quickly I realized that they're just the best, and they really became mentors to me through the course of making this film. They're legendary, absolutely legendary, and you can tell. I mean, there are moments with John where he had just like one word of dialogue, and you could just see a whole world in his face. I learned so much from watching them and from working with them.
And you like photography because you play a photographer?
I do, yeah. I had taken a photography class when I was in high school, and over the years I've dabbled with it, but it had kind of slowed down in the last couple of years. And then when I got Kong, it seemed like a great opportunity to take it up again. So I have an AE1 program. It's a Canon camera, and I just started getting back into it again. There's beautiful natural light and great locations and gorgeous actors that I was able to shoot. So I started taking photos, hoping that I would get to learn more about what it was like to be Mason, and then in the process, I took some great photos.